My name is Vada Grinstead, and for most of my adult life, I believed that love was something you proved quietly, by showing up early, staying late, and paying without ever asking to be seen. That belief ended with a text message. It came in at 9:14 p.m. on a Tuesday that already felt too long. I remember the time because my laptop clock blinked when the notification lit up my phone. I was still at my desk, half distracted by spreadsheets and credit card statements, mentally double-checking the final details of the Japan itinerary I'd spent 3 months perfecting. Dad's 60th birthday, Kyoto in spring, cherry blossoms, temple walks, the kind of memories people talk about forever. I smiled before I even opened the message. I thought it was going to be my mom asking about luggage limits or whether the hotel near Gion had an elevator for Dad's knees. Instead, it said, "Mom, we gave your spot to Kevin's girlfriend. She's more fun." That was it. No explanation, no apology, no hesitation. Just one sentence, casual, almost cheerful, that erased $9,400 and everything I thought I meant to my family. I stared at my phone, waiting for the second message, the one that would say, "Just kidding," or "We didn't mean it like that," or even, "We'll talk when you're calm." Talk when. Nothing came. So I typed back the only thing I could manage. Got it. One word. Polite. Controlled. The kind of response a woman gives when she realizes the conversation was never meant to include her feelings in the first place. And then I did what no one expected me to do. I canceled the entire trip. Flights, hotels, bullet train passes, restaurant reservations. I'd woken up at 3 a.m. to secure. Non-refundable. Didn't care. Because in that moment, something inside me finally snapped into focus. But to understand why that message didn't just hurt, why it changed me, you need to know how I got there. It started with what I thought was a good idea. Dad turning 60 felt like a milestone you didn't half celebrate. He'd talked for years about wanting to see Japan before my knees give out completely. Mom treated sushi like religion, and my younger brother Kevin, always dramatic, claimed his lifelong dream was to eat real ramen, not that broke college trash. So I did what I'd always done in this family. I handled it. I booked everything myself. Flights for 4, hotels in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, rail passes, upgraded seats for my parents because Dad's back couldn't survive economy. I booked myself the cheapest option and a tiny room because this trip wasn't about me. It never was. I coordinated the itinerary between work deadlines. I spent weekends comparing hotel distances to shrines and transit lines. I even upgraded my parents to premium economy while putting myself in a cramped budget seat without a complaint. Because that's what love looked like in my family. Kevin didn't say thank you. He never does. In our house, Kevin is the sun. The rest of us just orbit quietly, adjusting our gravity so he never has to feel discomfort. Helping him had always been expected of me. When he struggled with tuition, I paid it. When his laptop mysteriously died 2 weeks before finals, I replaced it. When he graduated and decided he was still figuring things out, my parents told me to be patient. "You're lucky," Mom would say. "You're stable," Dad would add, eyes fixed on the TV. "You make good money. Kevin just needs time." Helping turned into expectation so slowly I didn't notice until I was already trapped inside it. Then Kevin met Madison. She moved in 2 months later. No conversation, no agreement. Suddenly, my kitchen wasn't mine anymore. My Netflix profile vanished. The Wi-Fi password changed. One night, I walked in to find her filming a TikTok in my living room, wearing my dress shoes. "I'm doing a character," she said, smiling like I was being ridiculous. Kevin laughed from the couch. "Relax, she's funny." Funny. That word would haunt me. Still, I stayed quiet. I kept paying. Because family. Because conflict made my mom cry. Because Dad hated tension. Because I'd been trained to smooth things over with money instead of boundaries. When Kevin lost the job I'd helped him get, showing up late 3 times in his first week, I covered his car payment so his credit wouldn't tank. When Madison totaled her sedan, I co-signed a used Mazda in my name. Stupid, I know. And when they announced, surprise, that they wanted to come on Dad's birthday trip, I didn't blink. I rebooked hotels, added rooms, shifted my PTO. I even cut back on my own plans to make it work. And what did I get? "We gave your spot to Kevin's girlfriend. She's more fun." That sentence wasn't just an insult. It was a revelation. Because in that moment, everything clicked. In my family's eyes, I wasn't loved or chosen or even respected. I was useful. A wallet with a heartbeat. And the most painful part? I'd helped build that role myself. As I sat alone in this house that night, the house I owned, the house they'd lived in rent-free for 5 years, I didn't feel rage the way movies make it look. I felt something quieter, clearer. And clarity, I learned, is dangerous in the hands of someone who's been taken for granted for too long. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you stop paying, everything starts to collapse. The morning after I canceled the trip, I woke up expecting regret. That was what usually came next, guilt curling in my stomach, the reflex to apologize even when I wasn't sure what I'd done wrong. I lay there staring at the ceiling, rehearsing explanations I didn't owe anyone. But the guilt never came. Instead, there was a strange, unfamiliar quiet. My phone buzzed once at 7:06 a.m., a text from Kevin. Kevin, yo, did you mess with the reservations? I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another message. Mom says the flights aren't showing up. Call her. I set the phone face down and went to make coffee. The house was unusually peaceful, without Madison blasting music from the living room, or Kevin sleeping until noon, like the world owed him rest. I stood there listening to the kettle, realizing how much noise I'd been tolerating just to keep everyone else comfortable. By 8:30, the call started. Mom first, 3 missed calls in a row, then Dad, then Kevin again, this time with a voice memo I didn't open. I was still standing at the counter when Ethan, my boyfriend, walked in. He'd stayed over the night before, quietly watching me cancel the reservations without asking questions. He'd seen enough of my family to know when silence meant something had finally broken. They're calling, aren't they? He asked gently. I nodded. You don't have to answer, he said. Not today. That was one of the reasons I loved him. Ethan never told me what to do. He just reminded me that I had choices, something my family had trained me to forget. By noon, the text shifted tone. Mom, this is about your father. Don't make his birthday about your feelings. Kevin, Madison forgot her card. Can you wire us some spending money when you fix the flights? I laughed, out loud. A sharp, disbelieving sound that startled even me. They'd replaced me on my own trip, canceled me without discussion, and still expected me to fund their vacation. The entitlement was almost impressive. I didn't respond. An hour later, Kevin tried again. Don't be petty, Veda. This isn't a good look. That was when the anger finally surfaced. Not explosive, not dramatic, but cold and steady. The kind that comes when you realize someone has been stepping on you so long they don't even notice the weight anymore. They left for Japan without me the next morning. I watched their Instagram stories like an outsider. Mom smiling in the airport, Dad posing awkwardly by the gate, Kevin filming Madison laughing into the camera, captioned family trip vibes. My family, enjoying the life I paid for, pretending I didn't exist. On day 2, Kevin texted again. Exchange rates here are trash. Can you unlock the card? I blocked his number. Day 3 was quiet. No messages, no calls. It felt like the calm before something bigger. Day 5, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Ms. Grinstead? A polite voice asked. This is the front desk from your hotel in Tokyo. We're calling because the credit card on file for the group reservation has been declined, and there's a discrepancy with the registered guests. My hand tightened around the phone. They'd used my card, without asking, after replacing me. That was it. Not the insult, not the text, not even the money. It was the assumption that I'd let it slide. I canceled the reservation while I was still on the phone. Every room, every night. I flagged the charges, froze the card, and told the hotel to remove all guests immediately. When I hung up, I felt nothing but relief. They landed 2 days later. I heard them before I saw them. Voices raised, footsteps heavy on the porch. Kevin pounded on the door like it was still his house. I opened it just enough to see their faces. Exhausted, red, furious. What the hell did you do? Kevin snapped. The keys don't work. I deactivated them, I said calmly. Mom stepped forward, eyes already glossy. Vada, don't do this. We were stranded. People were staring. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Madison laughed under her breath. Wow, someone's bitter. That was the moment something in me went still. You're not welcome here anymore, I said. Kevin scoffed. You can't lock out your own family. I handed him the lease. My name, I said. Only. Mom gasped, like she hadn't known. Like she hadn't lived there rent-free for 5 years. Like she hadn't let Kevin and Madison treat the place like a playground. Madison crossed her arms. Are you seriously kicking us out because we had more fun without you? This isn't about Japan, I said. It's about years of taking me for granted. Kevin's face cracked then. What are we supposed to do? You have 2 weeks, I replied. If you want to stay longer, you'll pay market rent. You're heartless, Mom whispered. No, I said quietly. I'm done. I closed the door while Kevin was still talking. 3 days passed. Then the fallout began. Declined cards, missed payments, a deleted social media rant from Madison that someone sent me screenshots of, an email from the shared family account demanding I fix this misunderstanding. I ignored all of it. I moved into a small loft across town. No clutter, no freeloaders, no constant tension disguised as love. In week 2, Kevin texted from a new number. Madison left. She says this is all your fault. I didn't reply. Then came the lawyer's letter, my parents claiming partial ownership of the house. No proof, just entitlement dressed up as legality. Mom texted one last thing that night. We didn't raise you to be like this. I typed back once. You raised me to serve you. That ends now. And for the first time in my life, I didn't wait for their response. The silence after I sent that last message felt unnatural at first. For years, my phone had been a leash, buzzing with requests disguised as concern, emergencies that somehow always ended with me opening my wallet. Now there was nothing. No guilt-soaked voicemails, no just checking in texts that really meant we need something. Just quiet. I learned quickly that silence is terrifying to people who've only ever survived by leaning on someone else. Kevin cracked first. 3 weeks after Madison left, he showed up at my loft unannounced. I recognized the knock immediately. Too loud, too insistent, like he still believed he had the right. I didn't open the door right away. I watched through the peephole as he shifted from foot to foot, hair unwashed, hoodie stretched thin. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not younger, just diminished. When I finally opened the door, he didn't insult me, didn't demand anything. That alone told me how desperate he was. Can we talk? He asked. I stepped aside, but didn't invite him in. We stood in the hallway like strangers. I didn't think it would get this bad, he said quietly. I thought you'd cool off. I almost laughed. You always thought that, I replied, that I'd come around, fix it, pay for it. He swallowed. Madison said you were controlling, that you liked having power. And you believed her, I said. Not angry, just stating fact. Kevin rubbed his face. She only wanted to connect with the family. I looked at him for a long moment. You were my family. That did it. His eyes filled. He reached for my arm, gripping it like a lifeline. Please, I can't do this alone. For a split second, the old instinct flared, the reflex to rescue, to soften, to absorb the damage so no one else had to feel it. Then I remembered the text. She's more fun. I gently removed his hand. You already chose, I said. Now you get to live with it. I closed the door. A month later, my parents escalated. Not with apologies, not with reflection. With paperwork. Another letter arrived, this one more aggressive. Accusations of manipulation, claims I'd emotionally coerced them into living under my roof, a thinly veiled threat of legal action. Ethan read it once and set it down. They're bluffing. I know, I said. And I did. Because people who have a case don't lead with entitlement. Mom tried one last time to reach me directly. Your father hasn't been sleeping. He doesn't understand why you're doing this. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. He never asked why I was paying for everything either. After that, the messages stopped. The truth is, without me, they didn't explode. They collapsed, slowly, quietly, under the weight of their own habits. Kevin bounced between delivery jobs, calling them temporary, even as weeks turned into months. My parents downsized into a rental they complained about constantly. The same friends who'd enjoyed my generosity stopped inviting them out once the checks stopped being covered. They were living in the world they'd built, just without my money propping it up. And me? I was sleeping better than I ever had. I decorated my loft with intention instead of leftovers. I cooked meals I actually liked. I stopped flinching every time my phone buzzed. One night, while unpacking an old box, I found the proof of everything I'd tried so hard to forget. Receipts, boarding passes, tuition statements, faded photos of family memories I'd funded entirely on my own. Every smile had cost me something. They called me cold now, distant, changed. What they meant was no longer useful. 3 months after cutting ties, Mom sent one final text. We miss who you used to be. I replied without hesitation. You miss the version of me who never said no. She's gone. Dad never reached out. I stopped waiting for closure and gave it to myself. I wrote a note on my bathroom mirror that night. I owe no one more than I owe myself. I read it every morning like a promise. Next week, I'm flying to Iceland alone. No compromises, no guilt, just me, standing under the northern lights, saying the words I should have said years ago. I'm not your backup, I'm not your wallet, I'm not your fool. I'm Vada Grinstead, and for the first time in my life, I'm free. Freedom doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in quietly, in moments so small you almost miss them. Like the first time my phone buzzed and my chest didn't tighten. Like realizing an entire week had passed without anyone asking me for money, favors, explanations, or forgiveness. By the fourth month, the chaos I'd been bracing for never came. There was no dramatic apology, no tearful reunion, no redemption arc where my parents suddenly understood everything they'd done wrong. There was just distance. And distance, I learned, was exactly what I needed. Kevin stopped showing up unannounced after that night in the hallway. He texted occasionally, short updates that felt more like reports than conversations. He was working delivery shifts, then warehouse nights, then something at a gym folding towels. Always temporary, always just until things stabilize. Things never stabilized. Madison vanished completely. Her social media went dark, then resurfaced months later with a new last name and a different life I wasn't curious enough to follow. Whatever story she told about me, I no longer cared. My parents downsized again. The second rental was smaller, cheaper, and apparently beneath them. Mom complained to distant relatives who stopped answering. Dad grew quieter than he already was. The man who'd never defended me also never reached out when it mattered. That hurt more than I expected. But it didn't break me. Ethan stayed steady through all of it. He never pushed me to reconcile. Never framed forgiveness as maturity or guilt as love. When I doubted myself, on the rare nights the old conditioning tried to claw its way back, he reminded me of facts, not feelings. They didn't miss you, he said once gently. They missed access. He was right. I finished furnishing the loft. Nothing extravagant, just intentional. Clean lines, soft light, a space that didn't feel like it owed anyone anything. One afternoon, while unpacking the last box I'd been avoiding, I found years of proof stacked neatly in folders. Tuition payments, car insurance bills, co-signed loans, boarding passes from family trips where I'd stood slightly off to the side of every photo. Every memory had a receipt. I sat on the floor and cried, not because I wanted them back, but because I finally understood how much of myself I'd traded away for approval that never came. That night, Mom sent her final message. "We don't recognize you anymore." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "You never tried." She didn't answer, and that was okay. I booked my trip to Iceland the next day. Just one ticket, window seat, no compromises. Under the northern lights, wrapped in silence so vast it felt sacred, I said the words out loud, just to hear them exist in the world. I'm not difficult, I'm not selfish, I'm not cold. I was just done being used. Closure didn't come from them. It came from choosing myself without apology. They taught me love meant sacrifice, mine, always mine. Now I know better. I'm not the bridge they crossed without looking back. I'm the boundary they never expected. I'm Vada Grinstead. And this time I didn't lose my family. I found myself.